Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another spooky Sunday video. If you are new here, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you'll stick around and subscribe. And if you're a returning subscriber, I love you. Thank you so much for coming back. But it's kind of got dark and it's kind of raining now. So I'm sorry if the lighting is off and you can hear the rain, even though the rain is relaxing, so maybe it'll relax you. In today's video, we are going to be reading Stalker stories and I will have the link in the description in case you want to go and check them out. As always, because I won't be reading every single story on there, so I'll have that linked in the description. But without further ado, let's get on into today's video and I hope you all like it. So this says 14 people describe their terrifying encounters with creepy stalkers. So that is the title of the website. All my sympathy goes out to everybody who has submitted a story on this website because I can't even begin to imagine how terrifying it would have been. Obviously we watch TV shows and people talking about how they have stalkers and stuff and you think, oh, it'll never happen to me, but it could, and that is the terrifying thing about it. Anyway, stopping rambling. The first one says, why aren't you online? This happened to me during my first year of university in October. I was living in the dorms and I need to give you a brief rundown of the dorms. You need a key card to gain access to your specific floor. So even though someone on the 3rd floor and 4th floor live in the same building, they can't access each other's floors. I had injured myself playing sports, so I was under orders to rest, which meant no Halloween parties for me. Pretty sad for a horror fiend like myself, but to try and make the time a happy one, I busied myself helping to make costumes for people and doing their makeup. Once I finally finished, I packed up my makeup and decided to watch some movies in my room. A guy popped up and introduced himself. We chatted a bit and exchanged email addresses, and I walked back to my room and said goodnight. Wow, oh my gosh, that's not even rain, that's hail. Can you hear that? Is that going to be off-putting for you? That is insane. I hope it snows. I really want it to snow. The first warning sign was that he walked into my room behind me, despite me saying I was going to walk into my room. I felt really awkward and tried to say in a roundabout way that he needed to leave, but he wasn't getting the hint. I finally had to say, you need to leave my room now. I chalked this up to him maybe being drunk or something, but I did wonder how he got onto my floor if he wasn't with anyone partying. Before I went to bed that night, I checked my email and there were 5 from Creep. The first being, hey, I'm so glad we're friends, and the rest asking why I wasn't online. A few days later, I got a knock at my door when I was studying and it was him. I explained that I was studying and needed privacy. He tried to walk into my room again, but I braced my arm on the frame and said firmly that I need to study. The next day, he was at my door again, and the next. I began pretending that I was not home. Another day, there was a knock at the door. When I checked the peephole, there was no one there, and I assumed the postman had come. I opened the door, and lo and behold, it was the creepy guy. He has begun hiding from the peephole, so I would be more likely to answer the door. I told my roommate never to open the door if he was there, and I told the people living on my floor that this guy was beginning to creep me out. So if he wanted to get on the floor, whatever sob story he gave them, don't let him in. A few days after that, I was on the bus coming home, and I got a text from someone who lived on my floor, telling me not to come home because Creep was on my floor and was sitting in front of my door, just waiting. I went to a friend's house and spent the night, and when I got home, I was told he waited for 4 hours before leaving. At this point, I was getting freaked out. A few days after that, he began waiting outside the building, and if I left, he would follow me wherever I went. I was too spineless to tell him to go away, and I tried to be more passive about it. I never spoke and never gave any indication I was paying attention, but he followed me to class, the cafeteria, and always tried to follow me home and get access to the floor. I went to the resident advisor, an older student that sort of watches over the floor, and told her what happened. She spoke to the RA for his floor and was told that Creep had begun telling his own RA that we were best friends and dating. My RA tried to explain that I was uncomfortable, but the other RA believed him and that was that. Thankfully, one thing did deter him. He would never approach me if I was with a group of people, so my floor mates banded together. If I went to dinner, I went with my floor, and if I wanted a drink or seconds, someone had to come with me. Walking to class and even waiting for the bus was done in a group. He got onto my floor once when someone else was coming home. He forced his foot in the door to let himself in. I was hidden in another room, and when he left my door to go and sit in the television lounge to wait for me, I went downstairs and ran around the other side of the building and got into my room before he noticed. Then the phone calls began. I never gave him my number, but he somehow obtained my mobile and room phone, and at first it would be 1 to 2 phone calls a day until I told him I wanted him to leave me alone. Then the calls began coming in every hour with him begging and pleading for me to talk to him. Without caller ID, I needed to answer the phone because of school and my part-time job. At this point, it was November and I was a wreck. I was tired of having to plan out doing simple things like going for food or walking to a bus stop. Stress wasn't helping me recover from my injury and I was losing weight and I just looked sickly. I went back to the RA and begged her to help me. She went to the head of the dorms and explained everything that happened. I explained how far this had gone, and my roommate told them that he had followed her a few times, demanding that she'll tell him where I was. Felt awful. She never told me this because she was afraid of upsetting me further, and I felt like I was an asshole for putting her through this garbage. I don't know what went on from behind closed doors. From what I guess, he was told to leave me alone, and any further contact would result in him being kicked out of the dorms. There was one email where he went insane on me, telling me how awful I was and how could I do this to him. We were so happy together. Surely I was cheating on him with other men. After that, nothing. At first, when I'd see him around campus, I would run to the women's toilets to hide. I'd see him around town or on campus, and he'd always just stare at me. Never tried to approach me, never tried to get my attention, just staring. I used to walk by and try and pretend I didn't notice him staring, and I'd try and act like my heart wasn't pounding. So that is the end of the first story. That was really long, so I'm really sorry about that if you expected it to be a short story, but I feel like she probably needs to get all the context in for us to understand the story a little bit better. But that is crazy, the fact that she told him to leave her alone and that made him want to call more. It's like, how do you win in that situation? If you give them attention, they'll take it, but if you tell them to leave you alone, they'll just carry on getting worse and worse and worse. So literally, how do you win in that situation? And luckily he did leave her alone, because some people don't. They just carry on like they are a law of their own. So I'm really, really glad that she's okay and that he left her alone, but it just makes you think that you just don't know how to win in that situation. The next story is called The Subway Stalker. A little backstory: I'm a 20-year-old short petite female working at Subway, and I can't help but be nice to everyone, even if they creep me out. I feel bad usually. About a year ago, we had this guy 35 to 40 years old who would come in every day for lunch. He was fascinated by my stretched ears and a few piercings I had on my face and always asked questions. He would sit down after I rang him out and watch me from his table for 2 hours non-stop, just staring at me while I helped other customers. This goes on for about 2 weeks. Every day he would ask for my number, saying he has plugs and tunnels he wants to give me, and see me wearing them in my ears. I always politely declined. One day I'm alone in the store because my manager had to run to the bank. We were really slow that day, so I was just in the back room messing around on my phone. I heard the door chime, looked up, and yet no one was there. Then I saw a man walk past the front of the store really quickly, like he was in a hurry. The store phone rings. "Thanks for calling Subway, how can I help you?"
This is the girls with the nice ears, right?
Yeah? Who is this?
Are you alone in the back room right now? Are you working by yourself?
At this point, I got creeped out and I knew it was him. I hung up and texted my manager the situation so she would hurry back. He called again, this time asking me weird questions like what I would do with him in a room with the door locked, if I had a boyfriend, why I was playing hard to get, etc. My manager gets back and I tell her everything. In the middle of the lunch rush, he calls again. This time my manager answers, and to this day she never told me what she said. The look on her face made my spine shiver. She told him if he called again or showed up here, she would call the police. I thought that was the end of it, but alas, I was wrong. 1 week later, I'm clocking out and getting ready to walk to my car that's parked out front. When I look outside, I see him standing by my car looking inside of it. I was an idiot and left the back door unlocked. I watch him crawl inside and shut the door. The creep was trying to hide in my fucking back seat and do God knows what to me when I got in. My manager locked the front door of our store and called the police. When they arrived, they had to pretty much drag him out of my car and he was arrested. On him was a butcher's knife, rope, and a rag with chloroform on it. If I hadn't looked up when I did, I probably would be dead right now. Terrifying. I have that fear of someone being in the backseat of your car, A, because of stories like this, and B, because of that one story where they say that this woman was driving and a car was behind her flashing its lights and it freaked her out because she was like, why are they trying to pull me over? And then when they eventually pull over, the person was like, there's a guy in your backseat, I watched him get in the backseat when you're at the petrol station or something. So I have that fear of someone being in the back of the car, especially when I'm driving at night time. I will just like look and check everywhere before I start driving, and then I will lock the door so that no one can get in, which my dad has a problem with because he says if you have a car crash and your doors are locked, it's difficult for emergency services to get to you, but it makes me feel safer, so I do it anyway. Probably not the best idea, so don't do it. Rambling again. If this is like a true account story, because I know some people write stories on Reddit that aren't true just for like entertainment purposes, but if this is like a real story, can you literally imagine that happening? If she, like she said, if she hadn't have looked and seen him get in the car at the time that she did, she would never have known, and he would have probably, I can't say the R word on YouTube, but he probably would have R-worded her and then killed her. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word killed on YouTube either, but there's some scary people in this world. Right, I'm gonna read one more and then we will end today's video here because my camera is flashing at me. So this one says, the ex-boyfriend from hell. My high school boyfriend. I, a senior, split up with him, a junior. He was already controlling, judgmental and abusive. I was moving on to college and the local university. He went fucking crazy. Lost his goddamn mind. He began by threatening messages about 200 a day, phone calls, showing up during my classes, showing up at my house, broke into my car and sat in the back seat. My best friend and I had gone to the movies, came out and I was going to drop her off at home, and she noticed a huge mark on the back passenger side of the car. I looked in the back seat and there he was lying on the floor trying to hide. Brought a new car with new plates. He broke into my dorm room and then I left the dorms because I felt unsafe and moved into an apartment not far from the college campus with 2 female roommates. He found out where I was living and broke in there too while I was in the shower. I told him to get the fuck out and he came after me with a knife. I had to call the cops and lock myself in the bathroom. He was gone by the time the cops showed up. I was dating a newer guy who was an absolute gentleman and I warned him about the ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend crashes one of our dates and jumps new guy with 5 friends. I also end up with my face smashed in for being a cheating whore. I moved back into my parents' house. An ex-boyfriend attempted to break into my parents' house at 5 o'clock on a Sunday, so my entire family was home. Dad caught him and put a gun in his mouth and said that was the end of that. Dad is 6'5", ex-military and scary. Edit. Dad did not kill him, however I think that scared him enough. He has left me alone for 5 years now. I travel back home frequently and when he sees me he looks the other way. Ex-boyfriends. Ex-boyfriends, you guys. Some of them, not all of them. I've got some that are chill, but they're weird. They can do crazy shit like this. I have one ex-boyfriend who is literally a horrible person, but we won't go into that. And I remember when I broke up with him, I always worried that he would do something crazy like this because he had done something crazy like this to one of his other exes and ended up in prison for it. I'm never going to do a story time on him because he's just a horrible person and I don't want to relive those memories. But obviously that didn't happen to me, that happened to her, so I don't know exactly what it's like, but I know what that type of person is like, and usually they're very normal around the people that know you, or they'll charm them, and then the people around you won't understand why you have such an issue with this person. So then when you try to break up with them, you've got all these people that you love in your life telling you that this is the wrong decision, when subconsciously you know it's the right one because you see what they don't. So if you're ever in that position, stick with your decision and stick with your guns, because I promise you that'll be worth it in the end. A little bit of a ramble there. I always ramble. I think it's really good advice that I wish I knew at the time, because I would have left him a lot sooner. Anyway, thank God that she is okay. Thank God her dad saved the day. I feel like I've rhymed twice in the past 2 seconds, but thank God that she is okay. Okay, that is the end of today's video. I hope you all liked it. If you did, please remember to smash a massive thumbs up. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, I will see you all soon. Peace.